Well, Bill Fleischli, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois channel. We wanted to touch base with you on a couple of issues that are floating around. Uh, a lot of people over at the state capitol want to have a capital bill for some of the major infrastructure improvements. The question is, how are they going to fund it? And one of the ways floated by Senator Martin Sandoval is to take the motor fuel tax that is currently at 19 cents a gallon and double that so that it would be 38 cents a gallon. Now that causes everything that allegedly is good, causes some problems as well. We wanted to talk to you about what would be the impact, you representing the gas station owners across the state, what would be the impact on your industry if they doubled the motor fuel tax in Illinois?
That would take the tax. People have to remember the tax in Illinois is not only a motor fuel tax, which is a per gallon tax. There's also a state sales tax on it, and there's also most communities have a local motor fuel tax and a local sales tax. So it would increase the tax to go up about 50 cents a gallon, I would guess, somewhere in that vicinity. And I think that would drive commerce, entice people to go over borders to buy their fuel. You'll see a reduction in the volume of fuel sold. In the last tax, it was about a 6 or 7% decline. And that's 6 or 7% of the people not coming into our facilities. And if not in our facilities to buy gasoline, they're not in our facilities to buy other ancillary products that sell sales tax. So I think they'll make a mark for money, but you actually lose money in the long run. And we will be the biggest losers. And we will lose customers and we will lose facilities. Over the last 5 years, we've lost 700 facilities in the state. We employed over 90,000 people 5 years ago. We employ 71,000 people as an industry. So all those things are detrimental to commerce, our side of the business.
When you talk to some of the gas station owners, as you do, I would guess a number of these businessmen and women are owning stations in Illinois and maybe in other states as well. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. And
to that extent, then, since they're not just Illinois gas station owners and developers, to what extent are you hearing from them that they're maybe not going to be developing anymore in Illinois?
Well, we just had our annual trade show, and I talked to one person their company plans to build. They're nationwide. They plan to build 40 new ones this year, in 2019. They have 4 or 5 prospective for Illinois. They will not do anything until this is handled, and if it goes up, what they're going to do, they won't build in Illinois. But that means they won't get commerce from Illinois. They will build in the surrounding states on the interstate highway system or near the interstate highway system, and that will take, again, it will take commerce and sales tax from Illinois facilities, and that will cause probably some facilities in Illinois to close.
I'm just reminding myself as we're saying this, how many people would typically be employed at a gas station? It's going to vary, but what would be an average number?
15, about 15 people. If you run open 20, 24 hours a day, it's 15 people.
And what I'm reminding myself is now we have just passed the bill in January for $15 an hour minimum wage that's coming in 2025. What do you hear from your owners as far as the impact that will have?
Oh, it's devastating. That's an average, I would say 2/3 of our employees are minimum wage employees. They come in, if they work hard and do it, and stay on, they'll move up. But it costs about $150,000 a facility in the first year. So that's devastating.
$150,000 is what, payroll?
Yes. When you talk about payroll and the benefits and things like that, that's what it costs when you have 15 employees. It's devastating. And then you look at the out years, you got to come up with more money because our tax is our minimum wage is going to go up $1 a year after the first year, $2.75 increase. So how do you structure that? How do you change that? How do you make that up? You don't.
Right. So if it's $150,000 now, which is at $8.25 minimum wage, and it goes to 15, you're virtually coming close to doubling it by 2025. So 150,000 rough math would go to at least another 100,000. So you're going to be at 250,000 approximately, but your other costs are going to go up, like work comp costs and some taxes. So you're probably looking at going from 150 to 225,000.
Yeah.
And as you say, you're going to have to increase sales.
about, yeah.
to offset that minimum wage cost. But now going back to if we double the motor fuel, you're not going to necessarily be doubling your sales, because I think you said Illinois is bordered by so many states, I believe 7 off the top of my head. And so when we have an increase in the motor fuel tax, what impact do you see with your stations relative to people crossing state borders, and how far are they willing to go to save some money?
Well, it's in the Quincy area. They go 50 miles. When the bridge is closing for Quincy, they saw volumes go up in the Quincy area 50 miles and out from Quincy when they couldn't cross over to Missouri to buy the cheaper fuel.
And I think that goes back to '93 when the Mississippi Bridge went up.
Well, and every once in a while they'll have 2 or 3 for repairs and stuff. Not only will be closed, but they'll be inconvenienced and people will go. It's not easy to get over. But those are the things. And in a poll, AAA did a poll, and I have to read, 74% of Illinoisans do not want to pay raising taxes on fuel for infrastructure repair. They do not want to pay it. So it's a very volatile commodity. It goes up, it goes down, but the taxes stay the same.
Now, apparently the Chamber of Commerce just recently came out and they said they're supportive of raising the motor fuel tax.
Yes.
We hope to talk to them shortly, but typically, the man on the street tends to think that all businesses agree with. I think here we have one business group supporting that. I believe because they would likely argue that it's to rebuild the state's infrastructure and maintain our roads. And I know off camera you were saying that we have some of the most roads in the nation. And
interstate, we have the most interstates than any other state, and that's not counting our tollways. So we do have a lot of highways, and there are problems. But I would think that we should sit down and try to find some other way than to balancing on the back of motor fuel.
And that's what I suspect Senator Sandoval, from the hearings that they've been having around the state on having a capital bill, he's always asking people, how would you pay for it? Are you willing to increase this or that? If you as an industry are not wanting to have an increase in the motor fuel tax, do you not support a capital bill, or do you have some other alternative suggestions as far as how we could afford it?
I have alternatives that we can talk about, but since I haven't talked to the people that are putting bills out, I don't want to blindside them. But we'd like to be at the table where we could talk to them. Yes, we have some. There's members of mine my members are good businessmen, and they've survived a lot of catastrophes, depressions, recessions, 9/11, and those kind of things. And they have some ideas. We'd like to talk to them about it.
I know others we've talked to over the past have pointed out that as a economy, in fact, Ralph Martiri, the Center for Budget and Tax Accountability, argues that we don't tax equally. We have many people who are doing economic transactions, like a lawyer or like accountant, that there's no tax on their economic activity, where there are taxes on other people's economic activity. So some people are operating within the economy without being taxed. I don't know if I'm throwing out an idea for you, but there's...
It's over my pay grade.
At least as far as the kind of things for the viewers that say, as far as different things that could be taxed. Sometimes it maybe not be applying a tax to what we're currently doing, but just looking at where have we not taxed before, rather than necessarily increasing the taxes on what we're doing now.
Thinking outside the box a little bit, yes. Right. We have ideas, but again, I don't want to blindside somebody.
And I would say also, too, virtually everyone drives a car when you look at the numbers around the state. And so when we increase the cost of price of a gallon of fuel, and it's gone up and down, as you well know, and as consumers know, for various reasons, sometimes for international reasons. There's some war in the Middle East or something that drives the price up. When that happens, we see then people pass along the fuel costs. And I remember going to the local grocery store and seeing there's a fuel surcharge back when we were paying $3.75 or so a gallon, and it was costing $56 to fill up a mid-sized sedan instead of $25. But anyway. So I guess the point I would make here is that people ought to understand, the consumers, that the price of fuel is a multiplier in the economy. No doubt. It's not like buying a dress that you can put off or a pair of blue jeans.
And it's very volatile. It can go up. I mean, weather in the Gulf causes things, wars, political actions, those kind of things can all cause the volatility. It's a market driven the same way. If it rains in Iowa, the corn market goes up or down. And if we have an incident in the Mideast, it goes up and down. Now we have lessened our reliance on foreign oil, but we still have a reliance. And it's about what we make and what we produce is what we use. So if you have a 2 or 3% drop in the volume, the people that do the markets will look and say, there's a volume drop, bingo, things go up.
Well, and as we close out, we were just talking about the price of gas in the Springfield area here. It's just jumped about 20 cents a gallon. And what was the reasoning that you know?
Well, I think there's all kinds. One is the changeover. There's a changeover from Winterfield to Summerfield.
Now, is that needed or is that mandated?
Mandated. It's mandated by the Clean Air Act. And also in the out months, the ships at sea are going to have to change their diesel sulfur content from about 4% down to 0.4% or 0.75%, a lower percentage. Again, I'm getting out of my.
So all these freighters that are moving commerce around are burning what we might call dirty diesel, and they have to clean it up some.
Well, I won't say dirty, but if sulfur is not as.
They're going to reduce that sulfur content.
Yes.
But that's going to do what impact? How does that affect the price of gas?
Slow down refineries, tie up refineries, all those things. It takes some more fuel to do that. It'll take more to refine it. And again, I'm getting out of my pay grade now, but I did read about it. And that on January 1, that's going to happen unless they do some kind of extension. But that's going to be a
January 1 coming up.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. But you can't you can't put that fuel in December. You got to start doing and planning it now. And I'm sure there'll be some maintenance at refineries to do this kind of project.
Yeah, in Illinois, I would point out, is one of the bigger refining states in the nation. Yeah. So, but that is a chokehold. While we have produced a whole lot more oil over the last 10 years or so with fracking and Canadian oil sands and bringing them in, I don't know to what extent we've increased our refining capacity. So that is somewhat of a chokehold in the supply and demand process.
We haven't built any refineries. I think some have been expanded, but we haven't built any since, I think 76 was the last time we bought, 1976. That's the one up in Bolingbrook. Yeah, up in Bolingbrook on 55.
Well, Bill Fleischli, we always appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts on this.
Thank you very much. And,
our officers.
Jeff Berkowitz, thanks for joining us on the Illinois Channel. We're going to take a bit of an in-depth look at the run for the mayor of Chicago. I think what they care about is the issues we're talking about. What are you going to do about the schools? What are you going to do about fixing the financial situation of the city? And what are you going to do about the level of crime and ensuring that we have safe neighborhoods? Would I be right on that?
Yes.
The Illinois Channel, keeping you connected to your state, your issues, your home.